fire and ice meet inside the mysterious Wonder Mountain. The force will propel you into a thrilling journey, beginning with a launch that blasts your train through the mountain summit. This is AlpenFury, Canada's longest, tallest, and fastest launch coaster. The morning of August 8th, 2024 was like Christmas for Canada's Wonderland enthusiasts, and no, it wasn't because of the AWP Season 8 premiere. However, after over half a year of watching the park remove extreme skyfire, blast new holes in the side of Wonder Mountain, block off large swaths of International Festival with banners promising that something big was coming, erect some footers, and tease us with a mysterious fire and ice motif, the park finally revealed that their new for 2025 attraction would be a launched roller coaster named AlpenFury. Good day everyone, my name is Parker, and in today's episode of Theme Park Parlay, I'm going to do a deep dive on everything we currently know about AlpenFury and share my thoughts on my home park's newest addition. We have a mountain of information to cover, see what I did there? So without any further ado, let's talk theme parks. AlpenFury will be a Skyrocket 3 dual launch coaster from the Baltimore-based coaster manufacturer Premier Rides. As Canada's Wonderland's 19th roller coaster and the country's tallest, fastest, and longest launch coaster, the stats are pretty impressive, boasting 1,000 meters of track, that's 3,281 feet for my American friends, a height of 50 meters, 164 feet for those of you south of the border, a top speed of 115 kilometers per hour, again, that's 71.5 miles per hour for people who would rather measure things in football fields than use the metric system, and a whopping 9 inversions. Americans, if you try really, really hard, you can count that one on your fingers. Okay, but 9 inversions is a lot. In fact, AlpenFury will overthrow Steel Curtain's title of having the most inversions of any roller coaster in North America. And I mean, some of those inversions will be one-of-a-kind, never-before-seen elements as well, including the Fire Serpent Roll, the Skyflyer Loop, and the Ice Winder Roll. This ride looks insane, and is far better than anything I was expecting with this project. I posted this the day before the announcement, and I seem to get most things right. Premier Rides launch coaster? Yes. 2 launches? Yes. And 1 does in fact go through the mountain and into a top hat. 8 inversions? Well, Wonderland had to one-up me on that one. But at 164 feet, I at least had some good foresight on the height. But aside from an extra inversion, the actual execution of the layout is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, aside from launching out of the mountain, I kind of expected Wonderland to go with something basic for the rest of the layout. I don't know, I guess Wonderland can be very innovative. We do have a coaster that dives straight into the lagoon after all, but this kind of caught me off guard. I still can't believe that this unique, innovative, twisting masterpiece of track is coming to my home park. The ride seems to be very reminiscent of coasters like Velocicoaster and Maverick, which are my number 1 and number 3 coasters respectively, so I think there's a very real possibility that AlpenFury could be a contender for my new top coaster. Now, there's a few things that I want to take a closer look at, and I think we need to begin with the ride's story. Here's what the park has to say on their website. The villagers at the base of Wonder Mountain closed the climbing trails decades ago, after tales began to spread that it had to become home to beasts and mystical forces. One legend holds that at the mountain's core, fire and ice come together in their most raw, elemental states to create a powerful natural force that is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The story has become so ingrained in local culture that the Alpen village now celebrates this mythical union with its own fire and ice festival every year. As a visitor, you are fortunate enough to find yourself in the village during the height of the festival. It's a jubilant and colorful celebration. Those brave enough are invited to visit the sled house, where a sleek, modern sled awaits, outfitted for a journey through the very heart of Wonder Mountain and beyond. The temptation for adventure overcomes any trepidation you feel about facing the forces within. You board the sled and buckle in before being launched into the journey of a lifetime. Okay, there's a few interesting nuggets in there. First of all, Canada's Wonderland announced that part of this project would be an overhaul to the international festival area to transform it into AlpenFest. Now, the name AlpenFest has been around for a long time. I don't know exactly where the name originated, but park officials and enthusiasts alike have preferred the AlpenFest name over the years, so it's great that the park is finally making it official. The area was originally themed to a Bavarian/Alpine carnival, I guess, which is still evident on rides like Thunder Run and Krankenwagen. However, the area is also intrinsically connected to the lore of Wonder Mountain. Riders on Thunder Run have long been able to spot Herman the Dragon hiding inside the main helix. When Wonder Mountain's Guardian opened in 2014, we got to travel to the Draconian city and come face to face with the fearsome dragon in his lair. And now, AlpenFury is hinting at tales of beasts and mystical forces where fire and ice come together in their most raw elemental states. I believe that all of these stories are one and the same, and the upgrades to AlpenFest will tie it all together in a neat bow. This story places us in this legendary village at the base of the mountain at the height of their Fire and Ice Festival, quite possibly at a time when these mystical forces are at their peak. I don't know exactly what upgrades we'll see around the land, but I would expect some colorful banners, vibrant music, and possibly some street performers that truly bring the festival to life. I don't think we'll see too many changes to the existing attractions, although I can see Thunder Run receiving a few new Easter eggs to tie it in with a new coaster. The fly also sticks out like a sore thumb, and although I always thought that the name and theme for this coaster is quite clever, I can see the park repainting it and giving it a new name that better matches the AlpenFest vibe. Possibly with something related to sledding? I don't know. Parks seem to announce those kind of changes in the middle of the off-season, so I imagine that if it were to happen, we won't hear about it until January or February. Either way, I'm excited to see this area get some love, and hopefully the park will actually be able to tell an interesting story through this land and its attractions. We also don't know anything about AlpenFury's queue, or whether it will have any sort of pre-show. I mean, I would like to learn more about these symbols from the teaser, and hey, if dragons are involved, I wouldn't be mad at that either. Now, this brings me to the launches. My initial predictions imagined that the coaster would have two distinct halves. The first would begin with a launch out of the mountain, representing fire. Then a second launch, around Extreme Skyflyer's old plot of land, would begin the second half representing ice. As far as I can tell, AlpenFury doesn't seem to make such distinctions. And although Canada's Wonderland is marketing it as a dual launch coaster, it's a bit of a stretch if we're being honest. I mean, I guess there are two launches, but this first one is just a little baby boost to get you into that first tunnel, where you immediately speed up to that speed of 115 kilometers per hour before exiting the mountain in that crazy inverting top hat. This seems to be enough to get the ride through the rest of the layout, which seems totally fine to me, but I will admit that my one piece of disappointment with this ride comes from the fact that you're not launching from a standstill. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's going to be an extremely fun way to start the ride, but you gotta admit, those rolling launches don't quite hit the same. My next question is, just how trustworthy are those animated POVs? From what we can see in the videos, the tunnels appear as natural rockwork, which makes me wonder, will that launch be in darkness? Or can we expect some fun lighting or theming elements as we're zooming along? And then we have that fireball erupting behind the coaster as it zips through the top hat. At first, I thought it was some sort of marketing gimmick that they used in the teaser to add some theatrics to the announcement. But it also appears in the official off-ride POV. It's funny because it's also very reminiscent of the flames we saw shooting out of Wonder Mountain in the Blast Coaster concept art that we saw in the Pass Holder survey last summer. This has led me to the conclusion that the flames are real, that we're actually going to see a mini eruption every time the coaster launches out of the mountain. Let me tell you why this is plausible. First of all, it wouldn't be the first time Wonder Mountain spit fire. The park used to do a pyrotechnic show called The Eruption that used smoke and flame effects to simulate, well, a volcanic eruption. The show only lasted from 1998 to 2001, so it wasn't around for very long, but I'm sure there are some people out there who will remember it. The other side of the coin here is actually AlpenFury's older, tamer cousin, Wonderland's OG Premier Rides launch coaster, a backlot stunt coaster. The ride originally opened with a spectacular fire effect that was triggered right before the second launch. Unfortunately, the last time this effect was on was probably 2007. It's been a minute. However, other iterations of backlot stunt coaster, like the one at Kings Island, continue to shock riders with the fire effect to this day. For years, fans have been asking Wonderland to do the same, but you see, our rules and regulations require the park to employ a full-time fire technician in order to run the effect. And for just one ride, the park has deemed this an unnecessary cost. But if the park had 2 rides that employed some flames, well, hey, that might be worth loosening the purse strings for. So what I'm really trying to say here is that not only could AlpenFury actually use these dope fire effects, but we might also see Backlot Stunt Coaster rekindle its flame as well. Let's switch gears and talk about the trains, of which AlpenFury will have 2. Each train will carry 18 riders, so be prepared for some longer waits compared to our big 3 B&Ms. Hopefully they'll be able to pull some machine-like dispatches on this thing. I don't know, I'm a little worried about that. The trains appear to be quite similar to those found on Full Throttle, which makes sense given that that ride is also a Skyrocket 3. But it's possible that AlpenFury will have some updated restraints. It's hard to tell from the animations, but it does look like these restraints are more similar to those found on modern Intamin and Mock coasters. In any case, I'm just happy that we're not getting any comfort collars. The story also describes these trains as sleek modern sleds. Again, the details are a little hard to make out from the animation, and again, how trustworthy are these animations in the first place, but I think the trains really do kind of look like sleds. Maybe they'll be more fleshed out in person, but it would be fun to see some themed details. Again, I want to know how much storytelling will happen in the queue because I think the park has a unique opportunity here to really sell the idea of the station being a sled house where you board a sled to begin your sledding adventure through Wonder Mountain. I guess the immersion ends there though, because under that logic, your sled is going to crash through the rockwork in a fiery explosion, but still, I'm a fan of the concept. Okay, some other things I notice. I just love how unique this ride is. It honestly looks like something you would create in Planet Coaster, and I especially appreciate how the park is paying homage to Extreme Skyflyer with the Skyflyer loop. Speaking of which, I just love how this entire coaster is going to alternate between some wicked hang time and snappy transitions. I mean, it's serving RMC, and I think Premier is going to have a hit on their hands with this one. Now, if you're like me, I'm sure you still have a lot of questions about this project, but never fear, I may be able to get you some answers. The park has actually invited me out to a special media day for the new coaster on August 16th, which just happens to be National Roller Coaster Day. At this event, I'll be able to interview some park officials and get a behind-the-scenes look at the construction of the project. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to ask, drop them in the comment section and I'll do my best to pass them along. 2025 is shaping up to be an incredible year for coasters, and I'm just so happy that Wonderland happens to be at the forefront of that. The next few months are going to be exciting, and I'm sure there are plenty of secrets left for us to discover. But until then, be sure to subscribe for more theme park discussion videos, as well as vlogs from all of my adventures. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at ADVParker, and on Facebook and TikTok at Adventures with Parker. As always, big shout out to my Patreon subscribers for your continued support, and if you're interested in supporting the channel for as little as a toonie a month in exchange for some sweet perks and bonus content like the Patreon exclusive series Beyond the Adventure, Vlogs from the Vault, and Theme Park Kitchen, you can visit patreon.com/adbparker to learn more. Once again, thank you so much for joining me in this discussion on AlpenFury, and until next time, the adventures are calling. Tschüss!